Hello, happy Friday. Today is February 17th. I hope you're wonderful. If you're live, welcome. If you're listening later, welcome. I have a really cool thing that I've kind of whipped up, and I don't think I've seen it anywhere, but if you have, let me know. My name is Jenna Matlin. Welcome. And I am the author of the recent book called Will You Give Me a Reading? This is a book about how to be a good reader, how to be a good reader for others, and to gain confidence in your skills. Now, there's a chapter in here that's called Yes, You Are Psychic. And I am a psychic reader. So I love, the intellectual part, the linear part, all of that's amazing. But I also toggle for back and forth between that and more psychic hits and intuitive hits. In the book, I give a list of techniques that may be helpful for you. One of the techniques that I teach is follow your eyes, meaning when you put down your tarot card, don't instantly just run to what the key words of the meaning of the card is. Look and see where your eyes are going in the reading, because where your eyes are going is an indicator of the non-linear part of your brain trying to get you to understand something. And it's using the imagery within the card to do that. Now, let me give you an example of that. That's also in the book. I was hired by a very large company that you've all heard of to read tarot cards at the launch of one of their product lines. And so I was at a store and I didn't know anyone. It was a very busy, big store. A young lady sits down and she goes very cryptically, I would like to know about my boyfriend. And I'm like, that's a very cryptic question, but let's take a look. So I pull a tarot card, and the card that came out was the Eight of Swords, which traditionally means self imprisonment. The deck I was using at the time was Robert Place's Alchemical Tarot, and in that picture, I should have grabbed it. In the picture, it shows a beast, and the beast is manacled by its forearm or foreleg to the ground. And for some reason, my eye just kept zeroing in on the manacle and the chain and nothing else in the image. And I was like, why is my eye suddenly really interested in just this piece in the card? Why am I looking here? Why has my eye been drawn here? And then it hit me. Her boyfriend is in jail. And I was like, "Oh my god," right? But I'm at this party, like, I don't know her, like, I don't know how, free and easy I can be with my reading, so I just asked her kind of also cryptically, "So, like, what's your boyfriend's situation?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah, he's incarcerated." Boom, there it was. So that's one of many, many examples, that I can use to teach this specific technique. But I also came up with an idea to help people with it. I've been thinking a lot about, I think my key word for this year is spaciousness. And so I'm thinking about negative space. Um, when we are not so directive in how we read tarot, we allow another system to come forward, but we're not trained to do that. And so it's hard. But I've got a solution. Maybe, I hope. My hair is crazy. It is so humid where I'm at right now. So let me show you what I've got for you. Okay, so this is obviously my table. And I have created these cutouts. Let me show them to you. So they're just with construction paper and they are the same shape as the Rider-Waite Smith. But as you can see, they have like just random shapes cut out of them. So that's the first pile I have. And then the second pile I have has more of a like symbols. So we have arrow, like this is, look here, this is what's important. The Star of David. Maybe there's something there around hope or religion. We have, what's some other good ones? We have the moon. Like maybe this is kind of the waning moon. So what's on its way out or what's intuitively relevant. And then maybe something like the heart of the matter. And you can see that they're randomly cut out and spatially without any it was just like, where could I put the heart? Okay, I'll cut it here. So it's a very randomized process. But what's cool about it is that it kind of gets you to notice pieces of the card that you normally wouldn't. So, for example, let's say like you asked a question, and I'm going to zoom in real close here. Let's say you asked a question. I'm actually going to make this bigger so you can see it. And the Six of Cups comes up. Now, normally, what most people do, especially beginners, is they immediately start thinking about the key words of the meaning of the card. And that, if we're too quick to do that in our panic, like, what does this mean? Oh my God, I got to do this reading. We can actually cut that intuitive part of ourselves off before it's had a chance to speak. So we can see these things as maybe like guardrails to keep you from doing that, to force you to look at this a little more intuitively. Let me see if I can get some more light onto this so it's a little easier to see. There we go. There we go. That's a little better. And so say you asked a question and then you just randomly pulled one of these guys and you just laid it over the card. And so when you lay it over the card, you're only getting pieces of that information, but those pieces are important and they may trigger an insight into the situation that you're using the tarot for. So when we look at this, let me see if I can get it even closer. Ooh, this is getting real close for my camera. But what we see here is, instead of the whole image, what we see here is, let me see if I can actually move my camera a little closer so you're getting a better, there we go. Whoops. Maybe a better kind of view. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Yeah, so if you see this, right, like all we're seeing is the girl's shoulder, we're seeing her hip, we're seeing part of the cup that looks like the bowl, we're seeing just the brick behind it and some grass. And then the other piece was just the tree. But now I'm noticing how much the upper tree is really in shadow. So when we cut this apart and we start looking at these pieces, we come to engage in the card in a new way that is forcing us to use our eyes and describe what we're seeing, rather than instantly just taking on the whole view of the image and going right to the key words. And you can even do different ones. So now we've got, oh, look at that. We've got, what is that? The bottom of the tunic of the young man, and we got his thighs, and we have another cup. So it's interesting, isn't it? Or we can move it here and go, what am I being forced to look at now? I'm getting like the roof. I'm getting another cup, right? So this is not answering anything so far, but it's just kind of to give you a sense of how to really force your eye to pick up detail in the image before we're getting to the big picture reading. Now, there are another stack of cards that I created that are more intentional. So while I have these guys that are just random little shapes that you would overlay, this may be a little easier, which are, I've created shapes that have that more specific purpose in mind. I think I already mentioned that. So then we can pull a card, and before we even really look at it, we will randomly pull the overlay card. And if we see that, oh, interesting, the Star of David is revealing one sword. The sword is kilted Sorry. The sword is kind of kilted to the side, and there is a bit of a stained glass. So that might be pertinent and specific information regarding this card and the question at hand. Maybe we want an answer, and then we pull this, like what's here? What's important? This is like the big arrow, like this is what to pay attention to. And so now what we have is, oops, sorry. We have a foot. This is his foot. But mostly what we're seeing is that the foot and also the foot of the horse is above the landscape. So how might that shift or change the way you would see this card, or what this card could signify in terms of the question? We're really forcing our eyes, and we're forcing our, and here's the thing, you will not like the way this feels at first. And that is absolutely normal and totally what I would expect, because we're forcing your left brain, your spatial, logical, linear, linguistic, to shut up for a minute and allowing that intuitive, relational, spatial, symbolic right brain that often gets overpowered by the left side of the brain, the space to do its work. And so if it feels uncomfortable at first, that's a good sign, because the left side of your brain is going to squawk and complain about being forced to read tarot in this way. But once you get the trick of it, then you're just adding this to your bag of tricks as a reader. So how might this look in a reading, right? Let's pull this together maybe. So I have some questions that I'm going to ask you, or ask us together. And the question is this: my girlfriend is mad because I didn't give her a specific gift for Valentine's Day. I really tried, but I didn't get the gift in time. Um, how do I fix this? How do I fix this issue that I'm having with her? Right. So we're just going to pull some cards here, completely at random. I'm not even going to shuffle. It's going to just be more what comes off the top. And then I'm going to shuffle these cards with the symbols in them at random. So I'm not going to know what's going to come up from the cards. It's going to be random one card and then random shape of the overlay. But that's going to give us the information we need. So, but I'm going to pull a card over, but before I really look at it, I'm going to put the overlay card at random. So for me, like the Star of David can indicate like religion, or like this is the way you do this. This is the protocol. And so instead of seeing the whole image, what we get, if you look real close, is something that kind of looks like a back. So there's their kind of robe. It looks like maybe they're headed this way. And then you have what looks like mountains. So as a reader, I would look at that. So he's like, how do I fix this? I would go, maybe this is not yours to fix. And maybe you should stand resolute in that you really were coming from the best place possible, and don't overperform to bend over backwards to make this person happy because they're throwing a little hissy fit. You know what I mean? So that could be it. We can do another one. So this overlay is, so it's kind of looking at it as like the alchemical symbol for water. Let me move back out. So we have turning away with rocky, like a rocky background. We also have someone holding like a cup, but we're not seeing the full cup. We're seeing just the stem. We're seeing the hand. We're seeing the row. We're seeing like the body. And so, what might that mean? Especially if we're thinking about the reversed triangle as the symbol for water, emotions, feelings, and we see a hand that looks maybe like a male hand holding the stem of the cup, but we're not actually seeing the cup. So there's maybe a guardedness there, holding on to. Again, there's a feeling of withholding, right? So we have the edge of a figure and then someone holding on, but we don't see the top of the cup, which is more of like in receipt of, and also not giving either. It's he's keeping the stem of the cup close to his body. So again, we're getting this image of maybe this is not for you to do. Maybe this is not for you to do. Like, don't overperform. Keep your cup close to you, and stay steady in your emotions. Okay, so then maybe we'll do a third card. So maybe we'll do a third card, and then we have this and this. So this is the moon. So I figure I can kind of read that a few ways. For me, the moon can either mean like the way it's looking right now, it's the waning moon. So what is on its way out, or even just like intuitively, what is to be known, what's showing up from within. And we've got, let me go into this a little bit more. So then uh we have a tree trunk. Let me see here. We have a tree trunk, but we also have like a little piece of like another small branch with some leaves, right? So I feel like, what is this intuitively telling me? That if you as the querent use as the person who gave presents but they weren't good enough for Valentine's Day, if you stay resolute long enough, um she's going to turn around and maybe see the error of her ways, or she's going to be the one to bring the olive branch, that maybe you're not quite at fault here. So this is what I mean about like using and forcing the symbols within the card to be the reading. And then once you've done that and you've looked at it that way, you can then pull them off and then read them like that. So 8 of Cups. Maybe you've got to walk away. Oh, it's the female hand. Huh. But that's okay. If I saw it as the male hand, then it is the male hand, because that's what my intuition was telling me. So I don't revise it just now that I'm seeing the whole thing. But what we do see is 8 of Cups, like you don't really have to do as much, right? 2 of Cups. Now we see this happening. So but the focus was on holding tight and holding close rather than overextension. And isn't this fascinating? Now, when we did this card, right, we saw just that little piece of the branch kind of at the other side of that resolute nature. And look at this. Huh, that's really cool. So then you go in all the way and look at that. There's a cup there in the sky. Let me see if I can get a little closer and make it a little darker. And in the cup, now, I don't know, I need a magnifying glass, but in the cup, it looks like there's another branch. So if he holds on long enough and doesn't overperform and was like, I did my best, and you know what? You're acting like a spoiled brat. Um, she's going to end up coming along and maybe apologizing for the error of her ways. So it could be that. But when you do this and you create these overlays, it forces you to notice things in the image that are all little tools that really your intuition will use for you. That if you instantly go, oh, that's 4 cups. 4 cups means blah, blah, blah. 2 cups. 2 cups means blah, blah, blah. It actually may keep you from allowing the intuition to really have the insight. So I recommend like making a bunch of these and putting like a bunch of symbols on them and having fun and seeing what happens. I also have something called the Mixy Matchy deck. It's like a box full of like one-off cards or a deck where maybe I lost a card or whatever. And so, you could even make it even more random by doing something like that. So here's another random card. Here's another random card. And here's another random card, and I'll use something that I haven't used yet, maybe. So let me pull back. Sorry. I'm working with multiple cameras here and lots of little doohickeys. So here we've got 3 cards. They're not part of a standard deck. You could do this with oracle cards. You could do anything like this that's visual of nature and really force yourself to train yourself to pay attention to these details. And how can I articulate these details in a way that's telling a story? So for here we have what looks like maybe like people kind of like dancing, and we have the moon, which is intuition. We have the alchemical symbol for water. So we're getting, it's only half full with like these structures in it. So something is restricted. It can even be like, I don't even know what the image is. Like I can't even describe it, but I can just see it as this image. Do you know what I mean? So when you see it as this image, what is it telling you? It's telling me that there's some emotions that are being blocked. And then finally, like I cut out a little cup here. Hey, Sharon, I cut out a little cup here. And the cup is getting me to, so cup can also be emotions, but it's also showing us just a pentacle, but it's shining. So without this, you may not notice these pieces in the cards. And every single little symbol, every single little piece can be used to powerhouse your intuitive and psychic hits. Isn't that cool? Now, there's another thing that I want to play with that I haven't had the time to, which is a way to maybe even, so if we're looking at, if we're looking at these cutouts in a way to discern symbols or imagery or color or shapes, and forcing our right side of our brain to give us the intuitive hits, we can also do it in a way that also produces rather than absorbs. And what I mean by that is you can take a card, put an overlay over it like that, and then you draw over it. You finish the imagery. And it's not about, I think that card is the 4 of Swords card, so I'm going to try and draw my version of the four swords. What you can do is just go, what is arising in me? What is the imagery that might be speaking to my heart that I then can take, I can draw the rest of the image, and that can also be the intuitive hit, like you're filling in the blanks. And then once you do that, you then of course can lift it and go, and this is also the traditional meaning. So yeah, I just came up with this week. I'm still having some fun with it, still playing around with it. Yeah, I've never seen anyone do this quite in this way. So if this is fun for you, if you've got some construction paper and you want to play around with this, be my guest. Also, before I let you go, I'm going to make this real quick because it's Friday, y'all. Next week, next Wednesday, is my next free book club for my book. Will you give me a reading? And it is on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You've got to go to my website, jennamatlin.com, to register your spot. We'll do it on Zoom, but we're going to be doing chapter 2 of this book. But even if you haven't read that, come along anyways. It'll still be a fabulous discussion, and it's totally free. And then next Friday, I have a psychic gallery scheduled. And that is going to be next Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. EST. It is limited to only 13 seats, 13 people. So if you want to get a reading or you want to watch me do a gallery, you want to support other spiritual journeyers, then please come along. You can find all those details on my website. But that is all I have for you. Have fun, grab some construction paper, and email me. Let me know what it is that you discover. So have fun and have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.